Federal law enforcement agencies like the Secret Service and the FBI are buying up drones and drone detection equipment from the Chinese company DJI. Now, this is despite the Pentagon warning of a national security threat. The Department of Homeland Security has stated with, quote, moderate confidence that DJI was providing U.S. critical infrastructure and law enforcement data to the Chinese government.
Cameras are unbelievable, so they could steal information visually. So you could land something on the rooftop of a building, trick people into connecting to it, and then your corporate network is compromised.
The concern, according to American drone detection company Aero Defense, is that even if these Chinese drones pass U.S. security scans pre-installation, run on separate networks, or sit behind well-managed firewalls, that future software updates could allow a malicious actor, especially the one who wrote the software, to access critical information and systems.
Whoever wrote the software knows that they left back doors for themselves to get in.
It's why the company started in the first place, to provide American schools, companies, and even military bases with security by detecting both the drones and the pilot.
Hi, we're seeing a drone and a controller in your area. The controller is about 30 meters west of your building right now, in the parking lot.
Republican lawmakers pushed for the American Security Drone Act, which would have banned the purchase and use of Chinese drones and equipment for federal agencies, giving secure American companies an edge on our own soil. But the legislation was unsuccessful, partly because Chinese-made drones are so cheap. The Chinese company spent millions in lobbying efforts, including hiring 2 lobbying firms to persuade Congress not to back it. The U.S. sends roughly $125 billion in aerospace components and AI technology exports to China yearly, with less than 0.5% requiring a license.
It's a slippery slope when you start talking about reading private signals for all our government agencies to support American companies when they can.
Aero Defense has proprietary technology protected by patents. Business is good, but could be even better. They say its product is superior. And what's more, made in America. Reporting in New Jersey, I'm Christina Thompson for Newsmax.
So are we at the risk of our security being compromised by relying on China to provide these drones? Joining us now to talk about this and a few other topics as well, former Undersecretary of Defense Robert Wilkie. Robert, should we be concerned about this kind of thing?
Well, Bob and Katrina, it's no wonder that Xi Jinping feels emboldened that he's dealing with a declining superpower in a White House that has lost its marbles. Let's go back to the Trump administration. I was Undersecretary of Defense when General Mattis took to President Trump the warning signs about DJing innovations and the drones that the previous administration had begun to buy. President Trump immediately blacklisted this company. As the report just said, the folks who write the software have the keys inside these products. And under Chinese law, any product sold in the United States, the data collected from that product becomes the property of the Communist Party of China. That is how dangerous this is. And the notion that Homeland Security and the Department of Defense would be using this just signals danger across the nation, that the Chinese are now into every part of our lives.
Why is the administration buying these again
after?
Not
American.
Right.
Why don't we build them? I mean, we give money to people to stay at home. Why don't we pay them to build
or train people? So why has this administration turned around and, I guess, unblacklisted them, so to speak?
Well, we have to go back to the beginnings of this administration. The first act that the Attorney General of the United States took before he went after moms and dads in front of school boards was to dismantle the task force that the Trump Justice Department established to go after Chinese spies and Chinese companies that were devastating American industrial and intellectual infrastructure. That was the first thing to go. The second thing that happened was when the Secretary of State was berated by his counterpart, the foreign minister of China, saying that the United States was an irredeemably racist country. The only thing the Secretary of State could say is that we have our problems. Instead of replying as you and I would, or President Trump, or Ronald Reagan, or Richard Nixon would, that the United States of America is not going to be intimidated by a country that's murdered 100 million of its own people since 1949. Last thing, this is an administration that fell in line with the Communist Party attack on the speaker's trip to Taiwan. President Biden said the very same thing that Xi Jinping said, that this was a provocative visit. So if you have that mindset, you see why we are in such danger.
Yeah, only got like a minute here, sir, but according to the China's defense ministry, different topic here, Chinese troops are going to travel to Russia to take part in joint military exercises led by Russia. And the exercises are supposed to include India, Belarus, Mongolia, Tajikistan, and other countries. The Chinese Defense Ministry also claims that China's participation in the joint exercises was unrelated to the current international and regional situation. There's a lot there, but how do you read it?
Well, it's to bolster Putin. Putin's forces are being devastated in Ukraine. In fact, day before yesterday, the Russians lost more planes in a single day than they'd lost since the first day of the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. The Wagner Group, Putin's chief mercenary force, just lost its commander. The Chinese are trying to prop up one of its surrogates. And if you can see by the performance of the Russian military in Ukraine, the devastation that the Ukrainians have brought to Russia, the notion that the Russian military would be much of a threat to NATO is sort of whimsical. But China needs Russia. It needs an extra balancing force to take the West focus away from what they're doing in the Pacific. So that is why it's a dangerous situation. Not so much that the Russian military is any great shakes. We've seen that they're incompetently led and they've been devastated by a much smaller army.
All right, Secretary Robert Wilkie, great insights, much appreciated as always.
Thank you both.